All right, welcome everybody to another product spotlight. We are continuing our tour of Boxabl. They are making headline news all over the place, not only here in the United States, but internationally with the amount of people that are interested in their ADU style product, the Casita model. And today's going to be a fun day. Production is rolling at the new Boxabl manufacturing facility in Las Vegas, Nevada. And today we're going to have Kyle Denman, the director of engineering, give us behind-the-scenes look at how this folding home is manufactured in a fully automated factory. How does this volumetric modular built home ship flat-packed and expand in a few short hours to a uniquely engineered, modern accessory dwelling unit, ADU, designed to address high style and housing affordability? But before we hop into that, we have to pay our tributes to our sponsors because we cannot do this show without them. So a big shout out to Forward Solutions Group and Ben Hershey for everything that they do. Forward Solutions Group allows us to bring these examples of construction innovation to you each and every Wednesday. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. And if you want to learn more about Forward's recent acquisition of Modular, an ERP solution for offsite manufacturing, contact Ben Hershey at ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And also a big shout out to Howick Ltd. Howick has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and produces innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the U.S. and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for offsite modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing at www.howickltd.com. So thank you again to Forward Solutions Group. Thank you again to Howick for all the continued support. All right, let's get into the show. Without further ado, let's bring Kyle in.
Hey,
Kyle,
Dave,
what is happening, my friend?
a whole bunch. Getting ready for ramping up production here. So we're in month 6 of production at the Boxabl facility here. Up to 2 homes a day, which is pretty good. I would say on one shift that's about half what we're looking for by the end of the year. So yeah, things are moving right along.
All right. Well, first of all, Kyle, we met a few months ago when I came there and you were hot and heavy and just getting some final things in line to start the production line. It is now up and running. And we also have an inside interview with you that we'll be releasing here in the next week, where you give us a little bit of the inside look at all the CAD drawings and behind the scenes of how the folding roof and everything comes together. So we're excited about that. You are the guy behind the engineering team that is making this happen. So why don't you take 2 minutes and just give us a little bit about your background, and then we'll go for the factory walk.
Sure. So I'm one of the founders along with Paulo and Galeano. So my role is in the product design and development, as well as actually this initial facility. So I did all final modeling on the units themselves, but how actually these things work. The development is obviously across the rest of the company. But the actual final modeling of how the units come together, how everything is connected, assembled, invented in the first place, and then how we actually go about building it, how we set up the production line, all that kind of stuff is kind of my background. That's the kind of stuff that I do here. How we build the Boxabls, and then what the Boxabls actually are. What is the technology? What's the construction? How does everything work in reality? So my main goal is taking the concepts and making them work.
Yeah. And it's funny, most modular manufacturers say, well, how do we do the box? I love it. I hear you say, well, this is how we do the Boxabl, right? And how it comes together. So it's just a different way of saying it. So Kyle, you've been part of this team really from the beginning in helping to pull this together. Just how much of an undertaking has this been? I mean, you don't look like a president where after a year or 2 years you got gray hair and you're ready to fall over. Has it been a good undertaking? Has it had its ups and downs? Can you share anything with us?
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's ups and downs. There's definitely like several months of really, really involved design and development to get the product done. And then ups and downs with our manufacturing team about actually getting the product built after it's been designed. This is our first facility. This is the first time we're doing production line style assembly of this type of module. So there was a lot of unknowns, right? Does this when I design the floor to connect to the walls, does that actually work in reality on a production line? Can we get that cycle time down? Do we have to make modifications to the design to actually achieve the goals that we have? So that's been the last 6 months. 6 months prior was all product development and design. And then, we're a new company. So prior to that, because I've been involved for about 5 years, the design is a little bit slower because we're not actually like producing, right? So you're figuring everything out, kind of inventing. That stuff takes time because there's not a roadmap for how that goes.
Right.
So once we get into production, there's physical stuff happening. You can get feedback immediately from the production line for the design. So it does go up and down because now we have a team that can help, give feedback for how things are actually going and what minor changes we can make, as opposed to about a year ago, this is all just in a room with, closed doors. How do we make this design work in reality? We have a great idea for how it's going to work, but until you do it physically, you don't really know.
Right, for sure. And it's fun. We had a chance hanging out with Paolo, one of the founders, at an event we held in San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and you guys are just so excited about this whole thing, and the enthusiasm that was there when I saw it being put together, and what we're going to see today, I think is going to be no different. So, all right, listen, everybody, if you are just joining us, we are going to do a live walkthrough with Kyle Denman, the director of engineering at the Boxabl plant in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is going to be doing it on his phone. So if we do lose some connection, we're going to keep rocking and rolling. Kyle will come right back to us if he drops out. And we'll keep this going on. But Cal, let's take a walk down the production line. Can you take us from point A to point B, and then we can wrap it up maybe back in the office here?
For sure, yeah. So obviously I'm in the office, just at our conference room. The office is getting built out currently. But yeah, it's coming along for sure. So starting to get our own kind of Boxabl custom desks and set everything installed, which has been pretty fun. But
Now,
yeah, so I'll walk through a door right here into the production line.
So Kyle, where you're at currently right now, I mean, is that where the engineers and all the staff that's behind the scenes, not on the factory floor, that are pulling this all together?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll pan over here real quick. So just behind me is actually pretty much the engineering team. So we have about 7 engineers on staff between design and manufacturing. And then kind of over in the corner by the wall there is like our purchasing team, that kind of stuff. So.
And I tell you, it's a beautiful office. I love all the white. The white and orange really works great, and I like the fact that you have your own little studio set up there with a pink teddy bear on the chair. That's cute.
Yeah, we're a design company at the end of the day, so we do like to do kind of stuff like that. It makes it a little bit more fun.
Sure. All right.
So I've just stepped out just outside the office into the factory. So behind me here is kind of the break area for the guys to have lunch. We have food available, stuff like that. And everybody's lockers, so on and so forth. So at Boxabl, basically, we separate the factory into 2 halves. The first half produces the panels, walls, floors, roofs, and then the second half uses those panels to build the homes, right? So the first half here, we're focused on components that go into the panel. So I'll just walk over here real quick. So you'll see behind me, there's all these carts, these color-coded carts. So the carts are color-coded by panel. So like this pink one over my shoulder here, that goes into whatever pink panel, left fixed wall panel, right? And these are the components that come out of the lumber yard for that specific panel. So when on the lamination side, which we'll go to in a minute, they're going to build a panel. They grab this part of the components, so on and so forth. So I'll kind of continue my tour here.
So that would be the start of the line.
Basically the start of the production line, yeah. So we manufacture the lumber, PVC, kind of some proprietary stuff into the designs here. You can see all these profiles. So that's how a lot of like the panels interlock and connect together and seal, right? Because it's a folding house. So the trouble with the folding house is waterproofing it, right? So each one of these panels around the perimeter has a custom built profile with gaskets embedded in it. So when they come together, they interlock physically and squish gaskets like a car door to seal up for weather, right?
Got it. All right.
So
far we're doing pretty good on the video. It's getting a little grainy here and there, but we're doing great. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, good. So behind me is our one of our CNC machines. We've got 2 more coming in. So they machine the interior surface. So the interior surface, instead of using drywall, we use a magnesium board. It's got better structural properties for laminate, stuff like that. It's non-combustible. But effectively what he's doing now is cutting out all the window holes, all the electrical outlets, etc. And then we'll use that component again with that lumber to build one of these panels. That also comes along with the foam,
Right.
which is the structure, right? So you have these surfaces glued to the foam in a big laminate, and it doesn't sound strong, but it ends up being incredibly, incredibly strong, much stronger than traditional construction in a couple of different areas: axial compression, racking, etc.
Right.
But it's just a laminate. So we have this foam, which is pre-cut, right? You can see all these chases where electrical and stuff goes. So like electrical wiring will run down through there and then poke out for an outlet, stuff like that. So that comes in to us, done by a supplier. We machine the MGO, we showed earlier, and the lumber. So that's kind of the beginning of the line. We need that stuff to build the panels.
Got it. So you're going to take with that, what you just showed us with the foam, with the other composite material, and then I'm assuming we're going to go to the part of the line where that starts coming together and gets sandwiched together, glued together, or bonded somehow, correct?
Exactly. So what we do here is we kit all of the components you need to build a specific panel, bring it over to the lamination area, put those components together like a Lego kit. It all gets glued and pressed together, and then you end up with a structural panel. And then, I'll talk through it quickly while I'm walking. You'll take that panel and assemble it into a home, right, down on the other half of the assembly line. But right now, walking over towards our actual lamination area. So, here you go. Behind me are some of those kits, right? So you saw the foam
Yep.
piles and the lumber, so on and so forth. So now they've started to kit them together, and they're going to use those components to build a panel.
So, all right. So, and how does all this stuff actually get moved around? I mean, I guess the foam, it's so light. It's easy to just keep loading the machine, whether it's manually or automated, correct?
Yeah, so I'll just see if I can pan over to see it or not. There's some cranes behind me. Let me actually move over to the other side
Yeah.
over here. It's a lot easier to see. But yeah, we have some of these vacuum lifters that assist lift the components up onto the tables. This is an assembly line. This isn't a traditional construction line, so physical labor, try to get to a minimum so
Right.
that everybody's happy and can do their jobs all day with ease. When they build a car, there's nobody lifting engines into a truck.
That's right.
There's robots or there's assisted lifters that help with that. So, yeah, here we go. This will
Perfect.
make more sense.
What's the overall square footage of the manufacturing facility as it is operational right now?
So the building is 190,000 square feet. We operate production at 150. So 150 is production. Originally we put this concept together for the factory to run. We thought 100,000 square feet was going to be overkill, and then very quickly found out how much space you actually need to produce. So we ended up getting a lot more racking, like you'll see behind me,
Right.
for storage of materials, which is getting us back to a nice operation. So behind me is the last component that goes into a panel, which is the steel. So the steel is pre-made and shipped to us. The steel is the outside surface of everything: walls, floors, roofs.
It is.
And yeah, so it comes pre-formed, pre-bent, cut. Comes with a 40-year warranty from Sherwin-Williams for the coating. It's effectively the same kind of coating and steel you'd find in like sheet metal roofing.
Okay.
And then so that's the outside layer of the laminate. And then so behind me here, so there's a crane over my shoulder this way.
Yep. See it?
So it's got a vacuum head on it. So the guys will lift up components with this crane and put it onto this table. Right, so you can see they've already started to put some components on the table. A lot of times the foam only weighs like 4 or 5 pounds. They'll just lift that manually. But they'll use these vacuum lifters to lift the steel so it doesn't bend and kink, as well as the interior layer, that MGO board. So they'll layer it up like a layer cake, put down the first layer, and then this machine over here behind me, that big white gantry looking thing, that's a glue dispenser machine, right? So the components go onto the table, this glue head runs over them, dispenses glue, and then they put the next layer on, more glue, next layer, more glue, so on and so forth to build up the cake. And then the table they're building on is a conveyor that's automated that will drive the panel into a tiered vacuum press, which is just right over here.
All right. So in a vacuum press is basically, if you ever see those bags and you hook your vacuum up to it and you suck all the air out to compress your clothing down or your towels down for storage or for shipping, this is the same concept that you're using to put the sandwich together and secure everything tightly. Is that accurate?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So we take the cake, right, of all these components. These tiers open up behind me. There's 4 layers. Each one of those layers has a bag, right? The component goes in, the machine closes, and we pull vacuum, and that bag squeezes down and holds under pressure. So it puts you like 1,000,000 pounds of force, or like 12 psi across the large area onto the panel itself. And so this is when the glue cures, it expands, right? So if you hold it under pressure and the glue expands, it goes everywhere and covers the whole area. And then you end up with a really, really good bond between the materials. So this is like the most controlled part of our facility. It's a lot of automated style equipment that handles the vacuum, so it's not manual, just so we can have more quality control, so we never have an issue of a panel delaminating. So this is our most critical component. We control the heat, we control the humidity in this area to really make sure that it comes out perfect every time. And this is, it's our biggest quality control. Because basically, when we have the panel, later on we can do whatever we want with it, right? So this is kind of the end of the first half of the facility, is these panels here.
So it looked like there was maybe 4 or 5 spots for panels. So I'm assuming it's not just one in. You can layer multiple on top of each other, so the line keeps moving. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is with this glue, the open time versus close time, which is the time you can work with it versus the time that it needs to be held under pressure, is usually about 3 to 1.
Okay.
So it takes 3 times longer for the glue to cure than it does for you to apply it, right? So if you have 4 tiers, then we can load and unload finished and new panels. So the 4th one should be done by the time you're ready to load in the 5th one, right?
Yeah.
So you're unloading that 4th one, bringing in a 5th one, and the cycle continues. So behind me actually is a complete panel. So there's actually a big giant hinge just above my helmet at Boxabl.
Yep, I see it.
So that's this is 2 panels that are joined together at that hinge. They came out of this press, 2 pieces from one tier, onto this table behind me. The guys assembled the panel through that I-beam. And then that I-beam is going to become the kind of main structural spine of the unit itself. So there's some I-beams behind me here by themselves. So they have these really large hinges built in. And that's what allows the units to fold, right? The floors and roofs.
Yeah. So where the hinge points are, you have an I-beam on both sides and 2 I-beams connected with each other on the hinge. Is that right? And that's what allows the opening and closing, right?
Yeah, so the main structure of the unit has an I-beam spine, roof and floor. And then so we had to invent a way to hinge and connect I-beams, because the I-beams have to hinge, sure, but in the roof, they have to connect together really rigidly, right? Because you're taking an I-beam, you need the I-beam. I need a 20-foot I-beam, but I can only build it in like 6-foot chunks and hinge them. So when those 6-foot chunks come back together, I need to lock them together as strong as one solid 20-foot I-beam. So that was, we invented a way to hinge I-beams, and then thought there would be a huge market for it. But it turns out that when people want rigid I-beams, they just build a big I-beam
for themselves. This is one of the biggest questions that we get consistently on the channel from our interviews that we've done is the quality. What is the quality? And I think this is nailing it. Like when people really see the quality, the thickness of these walls, how they're putting together, and those hinges are not lightweight, skimpy hinges. They're the real deal. They're solid stuff, and I think that's really great that we're highlighting this. So appreciate that.
Got it. So when the panels come out of the lamination area, they go to finishing. So you can see a panel behind me. These are some critical panels we have. These are our long fixed wall panels. So these panels are the back wall for the kitchen and bathroom. So they have, I would say, about 70% of the electrical in the unit goes in these walls, and almost all of the plumbing. So you can see they're kind of peppered with all these different utility holes. You can see some wires hanging out of them. So on the production line, the panel comes out of the press. It goes over to our painting area. The painters apply the spackle and so forth. While that's drying, the electricians follow up behind them and wire each panel individually like a car door, right? So on an automotive assembly line, you have the car going down the line, and then when the door comes in to assemble to that car, it's already got the wiring and the switches and all that kind of stuff done, and it has a harness with a plug, right? So we followed that same concept with our walls. So when one of these walls goes over to the assembly line, it'll physically just connect with hinges, or rigidly if it's not a hinging wall, and then a wired connector will connect it to the Boxabl, just like a car door, right? You connect the hinges and you just connect the connector, and that's it. So that all happens here.
So let's stop there for a second. You mind taking a couple questions so we can get ahead of this here? A little bit.
I think it'll be a little bit quieter right over here.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. So it's better than even when we tested. So I love it. I love it. We got a lot of people joining in right now. Let me just scroll down. What code is the unit built to is the question from Chris Nicely.
Sure. So our initial markets were Nevada and California. So we wanted to build to 2020 IBC codes for everything, 2020 NEC, all that good stuff. We have third-party reviewers that make sure our designs meet that, and then we work with third-party professional engineers to sign off through testing that we do meet that kind of stuff, especially the structural, because we're building a certain different way. So the panels, for example, we have a representative from NTA, ICC, International Code Council, that comes out, watches us build some test panels, marks them, they get sent to a third-party facility, they get destructive tested, that gets us a rating for how strong we are, typically per linear foot, right? And then based on the structure and the window cutouts, et cetera, we have a structural engineer that says, okay, these units, the design load can handle X. So when you go to install one, if we say, okay, our design load can handle, with factor of safety, 128 mile an hour wind load, your local architect or engineer can determine whether that will work for the specific area you're going into. Now, as far as codes, we did want, the ultimate goal for us is all 50 states. So we are trying to hit the design to hit as broad of a range as we possibly can. Now, there's certain areas where it doesn't necessarily make sense. So I think like Cook County, Illinois, Chicago,
right.
There's some specific electrical codes that they have about running wires inside, conduits inside walls, which is something that we're looking into, but currently that'd be difficult for us to produce. So there's a couple of specificities here and there across all 50 states, but we will hit the majority of everything, and we are planning to be modular in all 50 states and then go overseas as well.
Yeah. Well, I heard on our show Monday from Paolo where he's considering or probably in the process of, I know him, 4 million square foot facility, which I'll see if you have any gray hair after figuring that one out. That's amazing.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah.
All right, here's another question that came up. Are there limitations to where the homes can be placed? And that's from Paul Barretto. Hey, Paul.
So yes and no. Again, we're trying to hit all 50 states, so we design for as broad of a range as possible. But for example, we don't have the official ratings yet. Testing actually happens in 3 weeks for the new series of roof design. But they're designed around a 60 PSF snow load, 60 pounds per square foot. So that'll hit most areas, but when you get up above like 8,000 feet in elevation, typically your snow loads get quite a lot higher. Now, it would still work because you can do a pitched roof on top of a Boxabl and connect it traditional trusses and stuff like that to get a higher snow load rating. But it just requires a little bit more engineering.
Sure.
So right now we're focused mainly on the product we're trying to produce, and then all of the options like pitched roofs and stuff like that, we're initially going to leave up to developers, contractors in specific areas for any of those kind of specificities. But it should meet most areas most of the time.
Great. Perfect. We got some more questions here. Gilbert Meyer is asking, it's twofold. So let me do this. So one, what kind of foam are you using? And then he also asks, what is your cycle time between each sets of panels?
Sure. So the foam is just standard polystyrene EPS, 1 pound density. It's kind of the best bang for your buck. There's other things out there like XPS that offer a better R value, better strength, but it's just not really necessary for what we're building. So 1 pound EPS we've settled on after a lot of testing.
Yep.
All of these materials, so it's a lot of testing, hundreds of different tests, different
Sure.
material combinations, et cetera, to come out with this over the last 5 years. This seems to be what we've settled on. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second question?
What is your cycle time between panels?
It depends on the size of panel. Typically, we're anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes per panel. And then we have 2 lamination lines right
Got it.
now. And then
All right.
we're expanding on that in the next few months, too.
Awesome. Thanks, Gilbert, for that. That's coming all the way from Honduras. So we have a couple more questions about floor plans and adding sizes, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Why don't we continue with the tour? We have about 15 minutes left.
Sure, that's okay, perfect. Halfway through the building.
Halfway through.
So I'll just walk through our panel library. So these are all the different types of panels we build that are going to show up behind me in a second here, all in various stages of construction, or paint and spackle finish, that kind of thing. I see some guys behind me working
Yeah.
on either installing electrical or doing some spackling. As we get towards the end of the line, a lot of these panels should be painted. You can see a lot of the electrical fixtures in. If I just kind of pan around here, you can actually see like light switches, etc., in the panels, stuff like that. So again,
Now,
that automotive style. So
are you using quick connects when these come together, or are you home running all of the wiring?
both. It depends. So most of the panels will have a connector. You can see one. I just come around up here. Okay, so you can see the top of this panel.
Yes.
These guys here, those are connectors sticking out. So those are UL listed connectors for Romex to Romex connections.
Yep.
So we found those through the RV industry, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that allows that panel to be completely wired. The circuits are labeled, and then when it gets assembled, it just connects.
They're very common, not even in the RV industry, and house builders are using them. So I mean, modular builders have been using those for a long, long time. So they've been around for a while. It's not a new technology, and they are nice when it comes to having to put stuff together. And again, this comes down to the assembly line. You don't need an electrician to connect those. You just need somebody that can match A and A, B and B, or however you label them. And
Exactly.
that's what's great about it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what we were trying to get to. Okay, so you can see here, this is the start of our assembly line. So this is station 1 of 10. So what they're doing here is putting on some of the outside fixed walls, and one of the partition walls that separates kitchen from the bathroom. Right, so that's the entirety of the work they're going to do at this station. And then every 4 hours, they're going to do that. So every 4 hours, they're going to shift. Right. So the next station, for example, they're putting in some plumbing, and they're going to test a lot of the water lines. Right, so you can see the sink cabinets are in. That is the bathroom, and that is the kitchen. So the sink cabinets are in, so we can do that.
Can you get a little
Closer?
closer and maybe show us that floor system? I really want people to see the quality of this and see that beam, at least as much as you're willing to show.
Yeah, I'll show all of it for sure. So yeah, so you can see the I-beam down there. Okay, so just kind of put it in perspective how stiff a lot of this stuff is. This unit is sitting on 3 sets of casters. There's one right here. There's one in the back corner over there, and one in the back corner 20 feet that way. And if you step into the corner here, where it's not supported at all, it will not flex.
Right.
Just for example.
You gonna do the bounce test, Kyle?
It's a little difficult with the gimbal, but I promise it doesn't shake.
Right,
but yeah,
right.
so that's just how stiff everything is when it comes together. So the other part of the technology, which you can kind of see here, there's these big square tubes over there.
I see
so
them.
those are for a forklift to come and lift the entire unit up. When possible, you don't need a crane to take this off the truck and put it on your foundation or unpack it.
So it's like a pallet.
Yes.
So they can just come in and
pallet.
Yep, and pick it up.
Yeah,
Outstanding.
that was kind of inspired from shipping containers. Some 20-foot shipping containers have the 4 pockets for the large yard truck to come and grab it and move it around. So we can do the same thing. So our units, when they're complete, weigh less than 15,000 pounds.
Right.
So we have moved, loaded, and unpacked one of these units with a 20K telehandler before. So
That's
no
great.
crane, no anything. So you can rent a telehandler, $400 or $500 a day, whatever they are, and do the entire setup with them.
Hey, everybody, if you're just joining us, we're live on the factory floor with Kyle Denman. He is the director of engineering and has been part of the Boxabl journey since the very beginning and understands this stuff like no other. So this is an amazing tour that he's given us. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I'd be remiss to say go there and subscribe, but not until you're done with this show with us. And we appreciate all the support. And also, if you want to win a trip to the International Builders Show in Orlando, February 8th through 10th, type in hashtag IBS 2022 for your chance to win. All right, Kyle, sorry, go back to it.
No problem at all. So you can see behind me, this is the next station where they've installed the hot water heater and a lot of the drain lines. So during these stations, they complete the work, they test it, right? And then we have a quality control person that will sign off that this unit has been tested. They put their signature on it. It's just kind of like, you know, when you get your new car, sometimes we'll sign whoever built the engine, right? Stuff like that. So it's just a nice quality control to make sure that everything works. HVAC, for example, is tested at this stage, pressure tested, make sure there's no leaks, none of the lines, it's good to go. And then further on down the production line, we test the electrical as well as, you know, the units are actually packed and unpacked before they ship.
Sure. And what is the quality control process as you're walking? Do you have somebody at each station that's signing off on each portion of this? So you know exactly if there's something on the production line that's not working right, or, you know, you're having some failures somewhere. How do you catch that, and how do you prepare for that? Because like with anything, even homes that have been built for centuries, it's never a perfect process, and that's what you're trying to get to on a production line.
No, exactly. So yeah, we have, you know, floating quality control people. Its job full time is to do inspections at key points. So, you know, it doesn't really make sense to do the inspections during process, but after the guys are done with something, they'll come in and just check everything real quick. Obviously, the production line guys check their own work as well.
Sure.
But yeah, then we have, you know, a digital, you know, non-conformant write-ups that gets sent to the rest of the production team and engineering. So if we have, you know, stuff that shows up a lot, like, hey, every time we assemble this wall, it doesn't want to fit right. Maybe we can tweak the design to make that work better in the production line, stuff like that. So actually, it's kind of interesting. So this is the bathroom wall you see behind me, partition wall. So we built the entire bathroom, all the cabinets, shower, plumbing, everything, and then put that wall on, right? Instead of building out the bathroom and then trying to get in there and do all of that work. So we can do that because of the way it's built on a line, right? So it's a non-structural component, so it just goes in afterwards. There's no point doing it before. And then what you're seeing across these last 4 stages is the core construction of the unit, right? 80% of the difficult stuff, plumbing, electrical, structure, etc., is in, you know, a third of the unit. The rest of it's empty space, right? That's true with most homes. It's usually about a third, 2/3. 2/3 is empty space where you put, you know, furniture and stuff in, and then 1/3 is dense, difficult component. So we build all of the dense, difficult stuff first, and then we put the empty space on later, right? That's the hinge components that go on afterwards. So we spend about half the line on the core, right, and then the other half doing. Actually, it's kind of funny because it turns from, you know, an 8.5 foot wide home to a 20 foot wide home in like the next station, which you'll just see here.
So I'm just curious how many of our viewers today have placed an order for a Boxabl already? I know you guys have a lot of people out there, and how many of you out there? I just, you know, just curious. Let me know if you're interested in this, because this last visit that I had there has gotten so much attention. I'd be curious to see how much interest there lies on the show today. So just type in hashtag Boxabl. What the heck? Let's do it. Let's give them some more credit for being different. Show us what you got, Kyle.
Sure. So right behind me, you know, it goes from, they're putting one of the large folding floor, 12-foot floor that folds all the way up in the air for shipping. And the next step is put these walls on. And now you can start to see it's looking like a home now. Right?
Yeah.
It goes from the core to a home, basically here. And then, so, you know, one of the main things that we're focusing on over the past few weeks, and we will continue to focus on for this year, is the balancing of this production line, right? So if everybody's work happens in 3 hours, right, then we have a home every 3 hours, right? And then if we move and tweak some stuff around and everybody's working happen in 2 hours, then we get a home every 2 hours, right? So that's kind of the tweaking the production line stuff that we're mainly focused on now, is just getting better and better at building these things, making them more efficient, and just kind of easier and faster to put together. And with that comes quality, right? If your job, you know, used to take you 3 hours, now it takes you 2, you're going to do a better job at it typically, right? because it's easier, right? Whatever it was, you're getting it done in less time, means you're not frustrated, not stuck on something that was previously a sticking point. So as I move down the
For sure.
production line, just on the outside, you can start to see some changes. Some windows have gone in, door, stuff like that. Let me over here. So we're doing some touch-up paint inside, some touch-up caulking, just to really make sure everything's perfect. The kind of stuff that you do, like, build out a whole home, install everything. Everybody's in there with their grubby fingers and everything, and then
Yeah,
you
sure.
come in afterwards and do a little touch-up paint, that kind of stuff.
I mean,
to really make it kind of
just
perfect.
looking behind you, look at all the units being built down the production line. I absolutely love this, Kyle.
Yeah, it's great, right?
This is what we need. We need more innovation in this industry. We need more, I hate to use the cliche, outside the box thinkers coming up with a better way to do this. And you're building it with such quality. If I remember correctly, they're pretty water resistant, even if they were to get wet somehow down the road, right?
Yeah, we had a unit outside that we were doing an explainer video on how the units actually get assembled in the field.
Yeah.
And we didn't seal it up, and we left it outside and forgot about it. And we got a torrential rain came through, which is rare for Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But when they happen quickly. And we were kind of surprised because we had previous generation units out front, and they get wet. It's something that we've solved through the next few generations. They're a couple
Sure.
years old now, and the unit was kind of bone dry, which was pretty exciting to see that it actually all did work. Without the redundancies in place that you actually would do in the field, like sealing everything up properly. It was just unfolded dry and left there. So it was pretty cool to see. And then we do a lot of stuff to kind of prep it for the customer. You can see some stuff behind me that's kind of falling off. This is a protective coating. It's just a PVC plastic that protects the steel from getting disgusting basically during transport or whatever. And then so it very much is like an unboxing. When you unpack one of these things, you pull off the shipping wrap, and then you'll peel off the vinyl on the outer skin and end up with something really pristine. Because that's important,
So listen, everybody, when you get your Boxabl, you need to do like they do on YouTube. They call it an unboxing. Do your unboxing video as you're opening it up and let the world to see.
Yeah, so basically I'm at the end of the production line here. So this is a unit that's doing its final QA. These guys behind me are actually getting ready to load all of the stuff that comes with it. So you can see there's like some cabinets, and there's like a washer dryer unit. So those fit inside the unit, just not installed. So they arrive with the unit. When you unfold it, you'll just install them. So it's a little kit. We call it an install kit that comes with each unit. So that's the last thing these guys are doing now that it's passed all the quality control checks. They'll put everything in there, fold it up, shrink wrap it, and then out the door it goes. And actually pan over here, you can see the door behind me. There's a big door over there.
Sure, and that's where it goes
outside. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's where I flew by in a pickup truck with Galliano one day at 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
We were going to jump the door. Go ahead.
Shrink wrapped unit behind me. So.
All right, so it's getting ready to be shrink wrapped. It's wrapped, but it hasn't been shrunk yet, right?
Just hasn't had the heat attached to it. Yeah.
Right. And do you still have the Casita model sitting inside, or do you have to move that out of the way to make room?
We've got a Casita model. We've got two outside still around the front.
Okay.
Those are still the previous generation ones. But then we've got like an R&D model inside, and then we're going to pull one of these units off the line eventually for more testing, and also as a show model of the kind of next generation.
So why don't we do this, Kyle? Let's. There's the big flag. I love the big American flag.
Yep.
That's a highlight for me. Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get to a couple comments real quick. Paul Barretto says it's great to see their ability to scale production with such quality. I love it. Chris Nicely says building today on one shift. I think he's looking to get his unit. And then interesting. We talked about this with Paolo when he was on the show, right? Because from a YouTube comment from I can't say that, Rep Cash. Where will we put it? I really want to buy one immediately. And then he wrote, the government regulations won't allow this in every county. And he's right there, to some extent. They just won't allow it until they get the engineering and they approve it. It has to all be third-party inspected, correct?
Yeah, and that's what we're going through now. So those third-party inspections, Basically, what we say is we'll state this design is designed about XYZ codes, right? A third party reviewer says, yes, those designs meet XYZ codes. And if testing is required, such as the structural testing, to prove
Yep.
that, we do the structural testing that shows that, yes, we do indeed meet these codes. Or we do meet these design loads, and these design loads are good for these codes. So all of that is happening now. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's across the board. It's not something the modular industry faces the same issues. In fact, every part of component industry to some extent faces some of this because not every building inspector in every town's up to, the new stuff happening out there. But it is something that I know you're working on heavily. And I also know that there's a lot of other folks out there working on it as well. All right, Kyle. So let me do a couple more. If you want, you can just stop there or we keep walking. It's up to you. We have Jeremy Burkett. He says, I have reserved mine last quarter of last year. Hashtag Boxabl. So, Jeremy, one of those on the floor could potentially be going out to you soon. I know you guys have a lot of orders and you just started production a few months ago. I have a feeling you'll be catching up very quickly with those orders as you move through the rest of this year.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, by the end of the year, we want to be, 4 units a day per shift, trying to get to 3 shifts. So by the end of the year, we're trying to get to 12 units per day to meet the demand. We want everybody to be happy. We're just trying to scale as rapidly as we can with the new product, new process.
Sure. Cooper Lane has a question. He says, and I know we already answered this, but for people that may be tuning in, it's a good one. What is current production and where do you want to get to output-wise?
So currently we're about 2 units a day. It fluctuates a little bit. But yeah, about 2 units a day, just operating 5 days a week. We operate about a shift and a half. So we have a second shift crew, but not across the entire production. But again, I've only been in production for 6 months, which means these people have only ever seen a Boxabl, a lot of them for a month or two.
That's
so
right.
as they get, more accustomed to their jobs, they're going to get faster and faster. And we figure out the process, make their jobs easier and easier. We'll just keep scaling. As far as where we want to get to, in a couple of years, I'd like to see this facility, producing 10,000 homes a year is the goal.
Love it. Love it. All right, let's do a couple more. Cheryl from YouTube. Thank you for joining us today, Cheryl. Will you be making larger units?
Yeah, so we have a few more configurations that we're finalizing the design of with the 20-foot by 20-foot units. I'm planning on starting the engineering on larger units kind of second or third quarter this year. So not in 2023 likely, but maybe 2024 we'll start experimenting with that. It's always been in the cards. The first units we ever built were larger units. They were 20 by 40. And you can do a lot more with that typically. The smaller units are great for accessory units, etc. But if you're trying to build a full, single family home, a larger unit makes more sense. We are working on configurations and floor plans of the smaller units where you can connect them and stack them together to build a single family unit, which is kind of the interim step until the larger units are going to be available.
Awesome. And that Jeremy Burkett, who also had one in order, he asked you to speak of that. Will you have are you looking at 2-story units?
Yeah.
Kitchen modules?
Exactly. Structurally, we can do, I think, 4 stories. Based on internal testing, again, the external third-party testing is scheduled for February, where we'll get some actual real results through third-party, and we'll be able to publish those. But yeah, the units are really strong little cubes, so you can kind of do anything you want with a little cube. Think of it like a Lego brick, right? As far as the other floor plans, yeah, that's relatively easy for us to do. We're probably going to start with the current casita plan. Do a fancier version and a more basic version. The more basic version may not have any plumbing, so it'll be more like an empty room. So that unit you'll be able to turn into kind of whatever you want. Great.
All right, so we have, I think, just one more. I'll get to this. What is the R value of the walls and roof?
The walls are mid-20, and the roofs are, I believe, in the mid-40s, something like that.
Wow, that's great. Hey, Audrey joined us today. Very exciting. Love the video, Dave. I appreciate that, Audrey. And we have some people out there looking to win today, which is great. And Denise Ryder. Let's see who else we got in here. George Ryman joined us today. Just want to give people the shout out. Jarrett Gross, you probably met him at your factory before. He's a YouTuber, loves going out there and showcasing what's happening in construction and innovation. So good to see you, Jarrett. Hope all is well. And let me just go down to the bottom. I see a couple other things popping up, and then we're gonna have these last two questions here, and then we're gonna do our free IBS 2022 giveaway pass that Kyle's gonna give away today. So you can thank Kyle, you can thank Boxabl, and you can thank the National Association of Home Builders, because they're the one that gave us the tickets, and we appreciate everything that they're doing. So you definitely want to check that out. All right, here we go. Steve Burrows. Well, there you go. There's a what I call a genius in the industry. He said, any data on cost versus site built that can be shared?
The cost of our units versus building something typically on
Roger.
site. So
Yep.
when we initially looked at this 2.5-ish years ago, Galliano and I looked at the numbers for setting up a unit like this in California. So I don't really know specifically about other states, but I believe it was on like a quarter of the cost for a similar sized and featured unit to get installed in California. And that was just the unit, right? So foundation aside, land aside, right? So that's the components that we would deliver versus doing those same components on site. It was around a quarter. So when we looked at it, in California, it would cost around $200,000 to put one of these in somebody's backyard at the time, and our units were priced at $50,000. So Galliano would have a better idea on newer projections, because the market has been insane in the past 2.5
and so
years.
his supply has been insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can follow up on that. Gary Scola, and hey, Mr. Steve Burrows, you're my kind of guy. If you want an introduction, I think they would be more than happy to talk to you. Gary Scola says, any plans for multifamily? I mean, we're just looking at larger units. Gary wants multifamily now.
Yeah, so multifamily, the next thing we have to do is get through a lot of the fire rating stuff. So for single family and standalone structures, you only need typically like 1 hour fire ratings and everything. And it's just a matter of us going through that testing. So the testing we have scheduled for February is more structural. The testing we have scheduled for, I believe, March or April of this year is fire, stuff like that, which gets you approved for multifamily as individual modules. And then it's a matter of the floor plans themselves. So, okay, what actually makes sense to do for a multifamily? We started those designs a while back. We're just in review. And then we have to go for third-party review as well. So.
Got it. All right, this will be the last question, everybody. So we really appreciate it. This is from YouTube AJ. How do you ensure that the units travel fine? Have you experienced cracking, etc., with panels, or are they robust enough to withstand moving stresses?
Yeah, so when the units fold up, they're really pretty rigid. We've had one hit a tunnel in Washington, D.C. We've had one crane operator dropped one by accident. And we've had one hit a bridge at speed. We don't really see that much of an issue. We actually didn't even have cracked paint on the one that hit the bridge at 70. Yeah, they end up being pretty robust little modules. The shipping movement is more stress than the home will ever see from an installation, right? It's not whatever wind load, seismic can get up there. Whatever wind load or whatever typically you're going to see of a house is not ever going to be like if you picked that house up and drove it 1,000 miles, right? So, we've transported about 50 of these things now across the country, West Coast to East Coast, and haven't seen any major issues. Oh, I lost it.
So just to clarify, these can go on a slab or a full foundation, right?
Yes. Yeah, I got you back. Yeah, they can go on any foundation style pretty much.
Okay, great. That was another question. All right, so everybody's super excited about this. All right, everybody, type in hashtag IBS 2022. We're going to do our drawing right now. So if you want to win, you got to get it in right now. So this is your last chance. Type in hashtag IBS 2022. It is in Orlando, Florida. And if you're from the Northeast, where I am right now, it's warmer in Orlando, Florida. Or what you can do is take your butt out to Las Vegas and get a factory tour of Boxabl, because my guess is it's probably not too hot there. But keep your wallet in your pocket, because you can lose your money pretty fast out there. So I love it. Paul says another great session. Thank you, Kyle and Dave Cooper. All right, let's do our drawing here. Let me pull this up. Let's see. Pull it up. All right, we got 4 people that were wanting it today, which is great. So let me see if I can find it. There it is. All right, here we go. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? A lot more than 4. Holy mackerel. Jeremy Burkett, and guess what? Jeremy is one of the. I think he said he's one of the ones that actually ordered a Boxabl. How cool is that? All right, congratulations, Jeremy. Kyle, I mean, how cool is that that somebody that's super interested in Boxabl has won a ticket to go?
That's great. I mean, I think we're planning to be there as well. So we'll at least
There it is.
see what you're going to get.
There you go, Jeremy Burkett. I've reserved mine last quarter of last year, Boxabl. So what a great show for somebody to win that on. All right, Kyle, listen, Jeremy, we will reach out through you through YouTube, or send me a message through YouTube, and we will coordinate you getting your ticket to the International Builders Show. It'd be great to meet up with you down there as well. Kyle, I know you're not busy at all, and you had all the time in the world for today's show, and I really appreciate that.
Thanks very much.
Kyle, you're amazing. I think everything you're doing is amazing. I can't wait to come out there and spend some more time with you. We do have a sit-down video with Kyle that we will be putting out in the next week, where we actually go through the design on, what was it? You guys use Revit? Help me remember. Is it Revit?
SolidWorks, actually.
SolidWorks, right. All right. That we went through SolidWorks design, and we actually show you some of the inside secrets that they have come up with on how they design the Casita model. So that's super exciting as well. All right, Kyle, don't go anywhere. I'll come right back to you after the outro. And everybody else, we will see you Friday at 1 o'clock for BS Friday with Mark Bare Naked Willie. This has been a Dave Cooper Live presentation. And again, thank you to our sponsor, Forward Solutions Group, Ben Hershey, and Howick LTD. All right, we'll come right back to you. Everybody else, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you this Friday. Bye now.